Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and I want to talk to you about relapse. I also want to talk to you about risk factors. And the risk factors I want to talk to you about are related to substance misuse. You might have heard me say before substance abuse. Don't like that word a lot. Turns people off. When you say, hey, do you abuse substances? Oh, no, not me. But the truth is, to some extent, everybody misuses a little bit. I mean, when we drive by Dunkin' Donut, what do you think Dunkin' Donut might be but a caffeine and a sugar shot? Right? I mean, I've had days that I really wasn't quite up with it. Boy, a cup of coffee, and a donut or a cookie, man, I'm ready to go for about 2 hours. But what I am concerned with is a lot of folks that truly endeavor to change their lives by lowering their intake of, listen to this, mind-altering substances. When I work with people that really are trying to lower their intake of mind-altering substances, it's quite common that I get a person that says to me, well, A, everybody does it, or B, why am I different? Why am I different? Because they'll say, well, everybody does it, but why do I have this urge, this desire? Or just to the opposite, I have some people say, well, I have no urge and no desire. So I want to walk you through some of those ideas. I want you to think about 2 words right now. 2 words. Nurture or nature. Nurture or nature. Now, a lot of people have an idea about nurture. Nurture, when I nurture you, I encourage you. Sometimes nurture can be a positive environment where a person really isn't actively involved directly, but they create an environment that nurtures, that brings about. And so when you think about substance misuse, alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamines. Can't speak for all of those right now, but I know I just saw the Super Bowl. And I guarantee I have a lot of friends that told me they knew they weren't going to work on Monday because the Super Bowl was on Friday. They had already made a decision that they were going to drink or smoke, but they had made the decision that they were going to achieve such an altered state that they would be worthless the next day. Nurture. Would they have done that on a Sunday night anyway? No, it was Super Bowl. It was an event. Nurture. So sometimes society nurtures us into those environments that bring about not necessarily a desire, but it ignites within us, why not? And we venture into that area of a mind-altering state, which was kind of programmed and planned by society or our family. A lot of folks go out to the beach, and when they go, there they are in tow with their cooler and their iced down booze or whatever your mind-altering substance is. But the idea that do you have a family history or do you have an association with friends or are you so involved in social activities that the substances that you are tempted to are just nurtured, part of your environment, that's kind of where I want to be with that word. So what it means to you, I don't know. You need to take a look at that. Now that other word, nature. Wow, what is that about? Is it in your nature to be tempted, to have that desire, to have that urge? So when we talk about nature, we're talking about a whole different issue. People understand that lions eat meat. Sheep don't. So it's in the nature of an animal, if you will, to eat meat, to kill. That's how he survives. Well, sheep don't do that. Cows don't do that. So there's some genetic wiring that has to do with our desires and our urges. Now, I've got to be careful here because there's people that have written articles that will tell you that just because your mom's alcoholic and your dad's alcoholic doesn't mean you're alcoholic because genetics really not a predictor. But is it a factor? See the difference? Is one a predictor or is it a factor? And yet when I ask people to look at their nature, your mom and your dad, remember A plus B does not equal C. A plus B equal AB. The genetics of mom and the genetics of dad combined are you. You. And so is it okay for you to assess your family history from the standpoint of my mom, my dad? And is it okay for you to say, well, my mom always had a problem with kind of depression. Now, I couldn't figure out if it was nature or nurture, but I did see that it was lifelong. And I did see that she never really overcame it, or she did overcome it. And I can see my dad had similar issues. Wow, could I have inherited from either one, both, singular or in combination, some propensity, some leaning towards having a substance abuse risk that's higher than others. Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to you? So it's very personal when I take a look at, well, if I'm really wanting to assess my use of substances, is it nature or is it nurture? Because I think it's important. But I also want you to realize that when you decide that it's nature, I think it's important for you to also realize that, you know, there's parts of me that if you look at my mom and my dad, you can probably see where I came from, because I look kind of like my mom. Got blue eyes like my mom. Got that? And I have some characteristics that you would say come from my dad. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I can't help but think also that part of the way the brain network, you know what, I got 4 fingers and a thumb. You look at my body weight, you look at the color of my eyes, you see some of those ingrained patterns that are passed down. They're wired the way my brain is wired. Well, could my brain be wired kind of like my mom was wired? Or my dad? Could be. Which one dominates? I don't know. So you see the point here that sometimes we associate mental health issues where we say, you know, the brain and the wiring of that brain appears to be in such a way that maybe you're at risk because of the genetics of your family. I'm not saying it's a predictor, but it could definitely be a factor. And it's not uncommon when you see a mom and dad that have schizophrenic issues that the children have schizophrenic issues. They're not a predictor, but is it a factor? Would you assess for that? Of course you might. So let's start looking at this other thing, this other part. And I want you to look at the 5 factors that I believe are singularly in combination crucial for you assessing your personality. But I also want you to understand in the backdrop, still those 2 words, nature versus nurture. The first thing I want you to realize is that the genetics of your mom and your dad, A plus B equal AB, those are the first things you assess. The first things you want to assess that have to do with developing an understanding for yourself. And again, as I said before, yeah, we know that we can pass down hair color and eye color and, you know, body symmetry, if you will. But now we're starting to realize that the emotions and the way the brain is wired, sometimes we can get that passed down, so we also have some risk factors. So understand some of those risk factors. Is there a history of depression in your family? Is there a history of anxiety in your family? So genetics, very important. Take a look at that. The second one I want you to think about, family atmosphere. And that's interesting. I'm born and raised in New Orleans. We have a specific atmosphere during the Mardi Gras season that's all about celebration. And a lot of people, all I think about is Mardi Gras, which is Fat Tuesday, without realizing Mardi Gras started 6-8 weeks ago. Parades every weekend. They have here in Tampa something called Gasparilla. The smallest parade in New Orleans is 4 times the size of Gasparilla. And we have a Gasparilla that locks up the whole city. They have over 100 parades in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Any Saturday and Sunday, there's probably anywhere from 8 to 15 just on those weekends. And as you get closer to Mardi Gras, then the intensity builds up. But you see the atmosphere? It's a party atmosphere. It's a celebration atmosphere. And to me, it's actually absolutely astonishing that so many millions and millions of people can get together every year. And there's so little violence, so little problems. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of substance misuse, isn't there? Think about what I said, family atmosphere. The atmosphere of your family, the celebration. Do you celebrate a lot? Do you look forward? I get people, yeah, party on, yeah! They're talking about New Year's. They're talking about 4th of July. What are you doing 4th of July? I don't know, man. I got my keg, and I got my barbecue pit, and it's on the back of my truck, and we're going to be out there. Come on down! So the idea that there's some people in your life that are a part of your life, or could be you. You've passed on within yourself from your family of origin. Your family atmosphere is a part of your life. When we look at this, the third thing, role models and mentors. You know, a mentor is a person who gives you hands-on experience. A role model is people that you might read about, look up to, but you really never meet them. They're not going to pick up the phone when you call. So who mentored you in your life? Who mentored you? Who is the person that gave you hands-on experience? And it could be that you were mentored that, wow, this is what it is to be a man in life, and this is how we enjoy life. Or you might have a role model, and you know, sometimes we have kids that you really don't see their moms and dads like because they're working all the time. And their role model is the television set and the star, a movie, somebody, and all they ever see is these people partying, and there they are trying to replicate what they believe to be normal and typical to that person's life when in fact they really don't have that person. See, role model, false image, not really real. Sometimes it can, but how would you know? Mentors, hands-on. Hands-on. Fourth one I want you to think about is parenting style. When we talk about parenting style, we're talking about rule-regulated, call those autocratic, permissive, they'll make it. Democratic, where the kids, mom and dad, we all have say-so in how life goes. We talk about things about, now that I'm 15, can I have a few more liberties around the household? We work it out as the kids grow. Remember, your job is to start off rule-regulated, which is very young, and work you up to permissive so that I'm graduating you. We're talking about things in such a way that you have free thought, free reign, and I weigh in, but by the time your children are 18, 19, you really can't change what their decisions are. Does that make sense to you? You always start off with a lot of rules, try to lighten up on those rules, but we become more involved on a diplomacy way. Do you follow that? We try to talk to our children in such a way that they give us some value. But where I find, though, is permissive families, they typically are exposed more to substance abuse than others. Permissive families, they allow the invasion of mind-altering substance maybe a little bit too much, and those kids tend to pick up street language or street habits or street patterns because they're just always in the wrong group. They're never under the mentorship or role modeling that would typically be in a family, and there they are fringy. But permissive families tend to have more problems with substance misuse. And then the last of the five I want you to think about is, what was your position in the family? Because if you come from a big family, like you're one of five, and it could be that both your mom and your dad worked, that you might be the, in fact, pseudo-parent for that family. You might have found that in your position in this family, you were what they call the adult child. The adult child. I'm the one that raised the family because I'm the oldest and nobody's around here. And so that idea that to recognize the structure of the family is so important. And is it a big family where it sort of got lost because there were so many of us? Or was it a small family where it's just me? So I had more direct contact with my mom and dad, more involved with them. They're always watching over me. As you look at those ideas, well, genetics, could that be nature or nurture? I think it's probably more towards nature. When we look at family atmosphere, is that nature or nurture? I think that leans towards nurture. Don't you? What do you think? Nurture? Yeah? When we look at role models and mentors, nature, nurture? More towards nurture. How are you nurtured? Method of parenting that's put on you, nature or nurture? More nurture, I believe. Sibling position. So it's interesting that of the five factors have to do with who you are today and your risk factors for substance abuse, that from this little bit of a discussion, 4 of them actually are nurtured, and only 1 truly is nature. I work with a lot of guys, a lot of women, that will say to me, I'm in the habit of using this because it gives me release. And I'll say, well, where did it all start? I had a guy about 2 weeks ago. He was explaining to me that smoking weed at night helped deal with his anxiety. Because in going through a broken relationship, he just couldn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. So smoking a little weed calmed him down. He was able to sleep. But then he also said to me that it worked really good when he was going through a divorce and his stomach was in knots, his head was spinning, he couldn't stop thinking. Helped him to sleep. But then, he went through one of our programs and started to get his life together and got a new job and started to move off and found a new partner and things were working pretty good. But guess what? Still smoking a little weed because I still can't sleep. But then as time progressed, stomach wasn't in knots anymore. But now, I'm more comfortable when I smoke a joint. Now we went from a pattern to a habit. So now he's in a new relationship, engaged, and he's telling me this. My partner has said, it's got to go. It's got to go. It can't be a part of our life. I want to have children, I want to have a family. This thing you're doing, it's got to stop. And part of the reason he was talking to me is says, I don't know how to stop now. I needed it mentally, at least he believed he did, then. But now his life's changed. And now he's got a partner who he truly wants to have a relationship who says, you know, it's one thing or the other. It's not uncommon that I run into guys and women that are truly trying to eliminate some mind-altering substance from their life because they've made a decision they don't need it anymore. But then they find as they try to back out of it, well, all my friends, that's what we do when we get together. I don't know how to do something different. Or I'm used to doing this for so long that when I try not to, I get headaches, nausea, can't sleep, mind races more. See, that's all those are issues with trying to get rid of a mind-altering substance that you've used for a while. And sometimes the mind-altering substance is very legal. How about caffeine? I don't know about you guys, but I've worked with a lot of folks, boy, they decide they want to kick caffeine and they have headaches. They have headaches, or they'll say, you know, I'm just dragging around and I can't sort of move. So today I want you to think about nature versus nurture. I want you to think about those 5 factors that have to do with how you've exposed yourself to mind-altering substances. I want you to assess yourself and see if there's something that maybe you need to change. And then, if you will, through that process of understanding yourself, begin that path of trying to eliminate that stuff from your life. Hope you enjoy this. I'm Dr. Pilet.